Unlike other people in show business, Vicki Lawrence started at the top on network television with The Carol Burnett Show. But add to that her own successful sitcom, a game show, talk show, an autobiography, and how about a #1 hit record? Hi, I'm Ernie Manouse. Coming up next on Interviews, we'll take you backstage as Vicki Lawrence prepares for her one-woman show. Did you have any idea the Carol Burnett Show would be as successful as it was?
No, I don't think anybody did. The president of CBS at the time had it on the schedule for 6 weeks, and Carol's husband went in to have a meeting with him and saw that it was on the board. They hadn't slated it past 6 weeks, so no, nobody expected much of it.
When you had the reunion show in 2001, did that catch you by surprise, how successful that was?
I didn't catch, I don't think it, no, I think we all knew that it would be successful. I think the sheer size of the surprise was overwhelming to us. The demographic was overwhelming to us.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, that was great. It was very gratifying. I knew it was going to do well, though.
Yeah.
I knew it would.
What was it, do you think, about the chemistry of all of you that made the show so successful?
I don't know. I just think that's an accidental thing that happens. I mean, you can count on, a hand or two the shows that have had that chemistry. We were just really lucky. And it's, she threw it together so haphazardly. She found Lyle through the audition process. They were sitting around butting heads going, what are we going to do about a leading man? And somebody said, well, we need a Harvey Korman type is what we need. And Carol said, has anybody thought to ask Harvey? Who was still, in and out of the building at the time because he was just finishing the Danny Kaye show, had just gone off the air. And I believe she accosted him in the parking lot. And me, I if everybody doesn't know my story, I tell it in my show every night because it's, people know I sent her a fan letter. People know that there was some sort of a contest involved, and nobody ever has the details right. So I always have to tell that story.
Yeah.
It's a great story. Yeah, otherwise they would have auditioned. They had looked at a lot of young actresses. And I think just Carol thought it would be a novelty to have somebody that looked like her.
When you find out that you're going to go do and start off in a network show, you as a 17, 18-year-old girl, what goes through your mind? I mean, was there fear?
Not much. Really not much. I was too stupid to know where I was. I was too... at the time, it was a huge decision for me to go do that audition because I was singing with a group called the Young Americans at the time. And we were putting together the summer tour. And I had to go to the director and say, I think I'm going to drop out of the summer tour and go do this. I've been asked to audition to play Carol Burnett's sister. And he said, what are the odds that this is going to pan out? Do you have any idea what you're doing? You're giving up this tour. Don't think when it doesn't pan out that I'm going to let you just come back in the middle of the tour. If you're out, you're out. And really, what are the odds, Vicki? So at the time, it was a major decision for me.
Yeah.
And I just think I was much too naive to know where I had landed. It was so much like an out-of-body experience.
Had you been older, do you think you might have screwed up the audition realizing what was at stake?
I imagine if somebody ever got their hands on my audition tape, we would all pee in our pants. Harvey took me under his wing when I got the part. And I think it was either teach me or kill me because he hated me. He said, you couldn't even forget stage right, stage left. You couldn't even find the toilet. And he really took me under his wing. Carol had a show to run, so it was Harvey that took me under his wing. Yeah. And taught me about dialects and timing and props and all of that stuff. I'm eternally grateful to him, and I think I was tutored by probably, arguably, the best sketch comedian in the business.
How much work was it? How hard was it to do a show like that every week?
Well, when we did the special together, we looked at each other at the end of the week and said, how the hell did we do this every week? But I think you're just kind of on a roll, and Carol and her husband, who is now gone, Joe Hamilton, ran just an incredibly tight ship. And one of the many beautiful things I learned from them is if you're going to be a good producer, hire the right person and then let them do their job. Don't micromanage. And nowadays, showbiz is so micromanaged by every suit from upstairs who wants to have an opinion about everything. They just let everybody do their jobs beautifully, and everybody was incredibly talented, from Peter Matz to Bob Mackey to all of our writers. They were all just incredibly talented, and Carol kept a schedule. She wanted to see the kids off in the morning. She wanted to be home for dinner at night. So that's the way that show ran.
Did it make it harder then for you after that show to work in the business? Because you had like the ideal existence
I did.
For the first 11 years.
I did. Well, Mama's Family, I was fortunate enough to take much of that staff with me. Of course, for a half-hour sitcom, it's a much smaller staff. Yeah. But they were all ex-Burnetters, and that just ran like a little generator, that show. I mean, by the last year of production, we had Mama's Family down to a 4-day work week. And we literally would just laugh and say, my God, we were getting paid for playing dress-up.
Yeah.
So, yes, it spoiled me in that I think I know how a show should run. The hardest problem I ever had was when I got my talk show. And I did it for a company that did not think a show should run that way. They thought that showbiz meant chaos and stress and screaming and yelling. And it was a mind-boggling experience for me to hit that wall in my 40s,
right.
You know. To go, wait a minute, you guys are doing this wrong.
I've had successful shows.
This is supposed
Pay
to
attention.
be fun.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though, that's funny to me, and I think the audience has no idea how this happens. Here the show's nominated for Emmys, you have your Emmy nomination, all that, and yet they're tinkering with the show the whole time. Why? Why weren't they saying, hey, it works?
They weren't so, well, I don't know. I think that's a lot the way showbiz is now, though. The suits need to feel like they're in control of everything, and I think the problem with that show is that the suits did not feel like they were in control. And Johnny Carson, I think, said it many, many years ago. He said it's about the person who's sitting behind the desk. And everybody has to come together for that person.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not going to work. Because that's a lot of work. We did 195 shows a year.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. We did sometimes 3 a day.
Whew.
So we could get a week off once in a while.
Yeah.
Brutal. I mean, it's brutal.
But
I mean, to see your friend on the street the next day and she'll say, who was on yesterday? Much too hard a question. I have no idea.
But you say that was your favorite, that fit you best of everything you did in showbiz, hosting
Oh,
this
I
talk
don't
show.
know. It was fun. It was great fun.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the show part was hysterically fun to throw together an hour show, and as much as you plot and plan a talk show, you never know when somebody's going to get off on the wrong freeway and you're gone. You know, you're on a detour, and you just got to kind of go with it. And it's so much fun to be one of the Pointer Sisters, or to sing with Bing Crosby, or to sing with between Dionne Warwick and Chaka Khan, or to interview Doris Day, or they were really fun. It was just the backstage stuff that was very stressful there. Yeah.
Well, do you ever miss it? Do you ever miss doing a talk show?
I don't miss anything.
Really?
I don't believe in missing things.
Well, then my next question is not going to make a whole lot of sense then.
Okay.
First single out, you have a huge hit, Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Did that make it hard? Did you wish maybe it hadn't been so big, so maybe you wouldn't have such big shoes to fill if you continued singing, or was it just a fluke?
I don't know, and I tell this story in my show, too, because it's kind of a hysterical story, that I was married to the guy that wrote it for about 10 minutes, and it was really the only good thing that came out of the whole marriage. It was just a disaster other than that record. And so it was, it was kind of an accident. I knew it was a hit. As far as I was concerned, it wasn't an accident, but it was, my accidental hit. And then it was the ultimate demise of an already doomed marriage. So, it was a very bittersweet sort of, you now have to come in and you owe us an album. And it was just kind of it was a very tough period.
Right.
So it's not something I ever got to capitalize on. I think a lot of people still don't know that was me.
Well, hopefully some more know.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this then. You had a very successful, or have a very successful marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And you also had one that was, as you said, 10 minutes long, basically. Mm-hmm. What do you think is the key to having a successful marriage when you're in show business? Why did one work so well and the other not, do you think?
Well, I don't know if it's showbiz or not. I married my best friend the right time.
Yeah.
And because I think in any relationship, the romance is going to ebb and flow. You're going to have tough times. You're going to have difficult times when you need your best friend there. Hopefully the romance will come back again, but it goes in waves. And after 30 years, we've surfed a lot. And to have your best friend there and somebody that we make each other laugh. I mean, we laugh at each other.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that has been good for us. And I think when two people can work together very closely on the same project, it works so beautifully.
Really?
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Right.
But when a husband and wife are devoted to the same thing and it works, it's a beautiful thing.
Why do you think so many people don't figure this out?
I don't know that. You can wish this for people, but it doesn't necessarily happen. That's not necessarily who you choose to fall in love with, maybe.
Are you happy at this point in your life?
I am very happy.
Why?
I've had a lot of nice things happen to me, and I'm healthy. I have a beautiful family. I'm going home tomorrow. I have a lot of reasons to be happy.
That's one good reason.
My tummy's full. My plane landed on time. My plane landed.
That's a good one. Now, so many people also don't like to be recognized for a particular character. They kind of try and distance themselves from their success. You see it happen all the time. You've been able to embrace Mama. How does that all work for you?
Well, Mama, nobody's seen Mama since Mama's Family. She's been in a closet. And
maybe for you, but on syndication, she's on TV all
the
time.
I know, but we knew when we put this show together that it would be the most fun to bring her out of the closet and in people's faces live.
Yeah.
And people love her, and she's such a wonderful character to play, and all the things that I wish I could say that I would never say that are politically incorrect, Mama can get away with them. So I can have this person on stage I can say whatever I want. And she's like your own grandmother that you go in the bathroom on Thanksgiving Day and go, oh my God, can you believe she just said that? She's that person. She's right,
Tell me a little bit about the evolution of the character, because the character that's on stage tonight is not the same one that debuted on the Carol Burnett Show.
No, I sort of think that this Mama is, it's definitely not a kid's show. Because we'll have people show up with their children, and we had good friends show up in Vegas last time we were there, and that sail with us. And Al said, I can't. They were like 8 and 10. And he said, they love Mama. And he said, but this is Mama unplugged. This is not the Mama that and once in a while there'll be a little kid in the audience. I signed an autograph after a show not too long ago. The little kid was maybe, 5, 6, loves Mama's Family and syndication. I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And she said, are you kidding? It went right over his head and right under his feet. He missed most of it.
I saw an interview with your son where he was talking about how funny it was that after the run of Mama's Family and then you'd put Mama away and people saw you, they're like, wait a minute, that's not your mom, she's an old woman.
Mm-hmm.
How people so easily believed the character without makeup, without just the way you presented it.
Well, and it's been on the air long enough now that a lot of really young kids have grown up watching Mama's Family, and for them to run into me in person, they never saw the Carol Burnett Show. So there's this generation that has grown up on Mama's Family, but not the Carol Burnett Show, and they have no idea who Vicki is. My favorite is if a mom will bring a little kid up to me and say, this is Mama from Mama's Family. And the little kid will look at me, look at her mom like, what, are you nuts? Go ask her for her autograph. This is her. I love that because, you sign their autograph and then as they're walking away thinking their mom is nuts, you say, get the hell out of here, you're driving me nuts. And they hear that voice and it freaks them out. It's kind of fun.
Talking about meeting people you love. When you were doing the Carol Burnett Show, all the celebrities you came in contact with, everyone wanted to do that show. What was that like for you?
It was cool. I mean, I don't feel that old. But to have touched the golden age of Hollywood is very, very cool. And I don't think a lot of people my age ever had that opportunity to meet Lana Turner or Rita Hayworth or Bing Crosby, Gloria Swanson, John Wayne. I mean, just, all of it's history. Yeah. It's history. And I don't feel that old. But to have touched that,
Right. Well,
and I wasn't. I was a kid. I was
Yeah.
right on the edge, and under any normal circumstances, I wouldn't have met any of those people. But Carol grew up idolizing that golden age of Hollywood and all those like the MGM musicals and and Mickey Rooney and all of those people. And so she couldn't wait to have those people on her show, which was probably not a normal choice for most of the shows that were on at the time. So to get to meet those people and spend any time around them, Lucille Ball, it was amazing.
Did you keep any memorabilia?
Jimmy Stewart? No, I certainly should have. Carol, of course, has her autograph books.
Right.
Which she started which, my God, think what those are worth now today.
Oh, wow.
I never collected. To me, that would have been intrusive.
Right.
To bother people that you're working with, like a kid, like a gawky kid.
Like someone asking you for your autograph right before they start an interview with you?
Well.
Like that kind?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. Well, it's done now.
No. I just, when somebody's on a set all week and you want them to feel comfortable, it never dawned on me. It was just part of my job, and I was never, looking down the line. And, my husband's been in makeup for 9 gazillion years, and he never, all of the incredibly famous people he made up, never got pictures or autographs. And because he said it just wasn't, you just didn't do it. It was the workplace. You just didn't gush and ask for an autograph in the workplace.
So take me back a little bit and tell me, were there problems with the Carol Burnett Show, bringing it together, creating that kind of atmosphere, those kind of characters, those kind of skits? Was there any, I don't know the right words to say, any kind of resistance to it? Did television just accept what you were doing and that's how it worked, or was there some challenge to that kind of program?
Well, if there was, I wasn't really privy to it because I was a child. I'm sure Carol and Joe and the writers had battles. I know they battled with the censors. But I wasn't. I was a child. I would sit over in the corner and read a book or needlepoint, and Carol would say, we need to rewrite page 12. Vicki needs a better joke on page 20. And I'd go, I do? And she'd go, shush now. Yes, you do. And I kind of did what they told me to do and just sat there quietly and learned.
Yeah.
Really. And I've often said, I feel like I went to the Harvard School of Comedy in front of America. You'd have to get a lot of that just by osmosis, just spending time listening to those people, Yeah.
And when
so stressful? No, not for me.
When Mama's Family was first canceled by the network and then went into syndication, if I remember correctly, too, that was one of the first syndicated first-run series that was out there.
Yeah, it was.
How did you guys know to go that route? How did you know it would work, or didn't you?
Well, Too Close for Comfort was doing quite well in first-run syndication. And it was the company that picked us up. It was Lorimar Telepictures at the time. Now they're Time Warner, I think. But at the time, Lorimar and Telepictures had just merged. And they got to looking at our demographics and saying, NBC missed the boat on this. This is a huge opportunity. So they put us in first-run syndication, which...
I'm going to pause you right there and just ask, when NBC canceled you, did you know they had missed an opportunity? In your heart, did you think they were making the mistake?
Well, we just felt nobody at NBC at the time thought a rural comedy would fly. The only person that believed in us was Grant Tinker, and Grant Tinker gave that show the green light despite all of his little younger henchmen saying, we don't like this show. And we just kept getting moved from time slot to time. If we would do well in this time slot, they'd put us opposite Love Boat. You do well opposite Love Boat, we're going to throw you opposite Magnum P.I. It was just, they kept making, every time we'd go, look how well we're doing, they'd say, yeah, we're moving you to Saturday night. And, so it was one of those where they finally had the ammunition to say, the numbers aren't that good, we're canceling you. But Lorimar saw the potential of the show. And it was actually all the young guns at Telepictures they were very, very smart syndicators back then. And they put it into first-run syndication, and it remained in the #1 slot in first-run syndication for the entire, 5-6 years that it was on. Yeah. It did really well. And they were so wonderful to work for. They would send over the check, say, send us a tape. Stayed out of everything. Send us a tape of the show, here's your money.
Yeah.
And it was just a wonderful, I wish we were still doing it. It was so much fun.
While Mama's Family was going, were you doing Win, Lose, or Draw, or were they...
Towards the tail end of Mama's Family, I did Win, Lose, or Draw. Actually, Al said, go do it, honey, because it'll be a chance to be you, before you're not.
Are you still you?
Well, it gets hard after about 5 years. Being the youngest person in the cast, almost the youngest person in the cast, dressing up to be the oldest person in the cast, and literally no makeup, and go get ugly, we're going to tape. It gets a little hard. Kind of want to be cute once in a while, so I went and did Win, Lose, or Draw, which was kind of fun because I was one of the first female game show hosts, so that was kind of fun. And Burt Reynolds and Burt Convey were my bosses, and That was kind of fun. That was actually where I learned that I liked being me on camera.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, I'd always been a character.
Yeah. And the interesting thing when you went and did the talk show then, too, you were going against the trend that was happening in talk shows at the time. You weren't during Trailer Park Murders or She Slept With My Best Friend's Wife and all that
Because I
stuff.
couldn't. And that, again, was Al's idea. He said, I think you should host a talk show. And I said, I hate daytime talk. I absolutely have no patience for it. I mean, I think people that are watching that stuff need to get a life. So I bought myself a life cycle when he just actually got to the finish line before I did. So I bought a life cycle and started watching all this daytime TV. And I said, I can't, it's depressing to me. I said, I want celebrities, I want fun, I don't mind giving information, but I want to have a good time. I want to entertain. So yeah, I think we were kind of rosy before rosy, but just did it for the wrong company.
Do you watch TV today now and say, ooh, I think that it should be this way or that what's missing out there?
No.
No?
I don't watch a lot.
Really?
Nah.
What do you make time to watch?
Oh, gosh. Old movies, the History Channel, the Discovery Channel. Bad, isn't it?
Yeah. No, not bad at all.
PBS.
That's very good.
Yeah. It's bad.
If I was watching the movie channel with you, would we keep seeing people that you knew from the Carol Burnett Show and say, oh, I remember when they were on the show and stuff, or do you just kind of keep that to yourself? And just
Well, no. See, now I have old movie favorites that probably nobody on the Carol Burnett Show even knows about. I mean, when I was growing up, my informative years were Gidget, 3 Coins in a Fountain. I was in a town speaking not too long ago, and I guess the gals were staying in the hotel that were also going to come to the speaking engagement the next day. And they knew I was in the hotel, so they knocked on my door, and I was in my jammies. And they said, we knew you were in the hotel. We wanted to know if you'd come and have our slumber party with us. And I said, oh, thank you so much. But I had my room service, and 3 Coins in the Fountain was on, and I was just in hog heaven.
So you weren't going anywhere.
Don't bother me. Yeah.
Talk a little about the speaking engagements, which in a sense I feel kind of created the show that you're doing now, the one-woman, two-woman show. Came out of the speaking engagements, I would think.
A little bit. The Vicki half of the show, sort of got fine-tuned by speaking. I started speaking by accident last year of the talk show when somebody they were opening a state-of-the-art breast center in South Bend, Indiana. And they had hired a woman who had breast cancer to come and speak to everybody. And she dropped out on them 48 hours before the event, and they all went into a panic. And one of the nurses said, Vicki did a talk show a few weeks ago on breast cancer awareness, because it was like Breast Cancer Month or whatever the heck it was. And she said, why don't we call her and see if she would come and do it just on awareness as opposed to prevention or, recovery. And so that's how I got my first speaking engagement. That's how I got my first speaking agent. It was totally back-assed, where it was like, gee, you did a really good job. Do you think maybe I could handle you? And I started speaking. And sometimes people want a specific subject. Most of the time, people want to hear anecdotes about my career. A lot of time they'll say, could you speak for 30 minutes and then could we have questions and answers? And what I learned was when there were questions and answers, they were always a lot of the same questions. So I decided when we put this show together, we should just incorporate those into the show so that people get caught up and know the real story. And because I've had time to fine-tune them and think about them now, and they're fun stories. They're great stories. Yeah. So the Vicki half of the show, I felt was pretty much, it was pretty close to being ready to go. Aside from the fact that I wanted to roll in a few stories about things that bother me or things that I just am interested in life, and maybe a little bit of comedy. But she was essentially pretty much written. And then the mama half it was just fun to put together. I have a writing partner. We've been writing together since the talk show. And, we bat ideas back and forth. Or Al will come up with an idea and say, you need to do a joke about something or such and such. And it's hysterical because he is a Jew from the Valley. So he'll write a joke and he'll hand it to me, and then I have to translate it into Mamaese, because he doesn't speak Mamaese at all, So by the time it gets translated, it's actually really funny, and you would never know that this guy wrote it. And so it's a great little partnership, and it works well together. And we'll call each other back and forth, and tell me, what is the story with the toilets that flush 3 times at the airport before you can even get your pants down, Monty? What's up with those? He said, I don't think that happens in the men's room. I said, well, it happens in the ladies' room, and we need to talk about it. So and anytime there's something politically incorrect that Vicki would never dare say anything about, we always say, Mama's got to do something about this. And then like I said to the guys, because we put the show together, we pushed the furniture back and said, let's do a show in our living room. And I said to my musical director and to Maudie, I said, I want Mama to do a rap. And they both looked at me like I'd lost my flipping mind. I said, you know what? She is nothing if not with it. She is a very with it gal.
Yeah.
I mean, I think back on Mama's Family, there was nothing she didn't do. She ran for mayor. She did Dirty Dancing. I mean, she's a with it gal.
So she should be rapping.
She raps, damn it. And you know, opening night in Las Vegas, the end of the show, both those guys went, my God, did you hear the response to that? And I said, yeah. Yeah, she is a with it gal.
At the end of this tour, will Mama be put away for long, do you think?
Oh, gosh, I don't know, because I don't really see the end of this tour right now, because we're already booking. They're starting to book the year after next.
So this won't be like Cher, the Mama Farewell Tour, though.
Oh, God.
You know?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I just want to thank you for giving us so many years of laughter and joy, both on
you.
television and off, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Vicki Lawrence.